I talked to you about the void in our body which is called as Bhavasagara. आता बोलू नका Bhavasagara in our Sahaja Yoga language. Today we have to understand the other chakras which are above the Bhavasagara. Last time I told you how by following wrong gurus and spoiling your guru principle, you get problems in your stomach. Also your extreme behavior towards religion, your fanaticism creates problems which may go up to something like cancer. Also the another extreme behavior of people who become very dry by their overactivity on the right side and have no feelings for the family and neglect the family, have no relationship with their wives of a normal nature, also may develop problems of the stomach. This chakra, I didn't talk to you before about the speedometer within us, which is the Nabhi. I think I did mention something about it. This is one of the most important chakras within us, and I think before going over to other chakras, I must say that how our spleen gets spoiled and how we get into problems like blood cancer, which is a very common disease today in the West and is also invading our country with such a speed. बोलेगा मैं परवा on क्या हो हाँ इतने बोले ले. This is I didn't talk to you about it, but I have talked about this to other people. Now this spleen is the one which creates blood cells for our emergencies. Any emergency comes in, it has to produce new blood cells to fight the emergency or to face the emergencies or to solve the problems of the emergency. In the modern times, we have lost the idea of controlling our speed. We talk telescopically, we walk telescopically, we arrive at a point so telescopically that the point is left behind before we arrive. Now this spleen is the one, when you are eating your food, is also producing blood corpuscles to fight, or you can say to digest the food. At the same time, if you are listening to some horrid news and horrible emergencies that suddenly come up, or if you are reading newspapers, or if you are running away to your office, this is a very common thing with government servants, that they have no time for their breakfast, they will take 1 hour in the bathroom and in 5 minutes they want to finish their breakfast. All such persons face the problem of getting into some sort of a complication of the spleen. Because when you eat your food and suddenly try to run, the poor spleen has to go with the double speed to cope up with your additional activities. It used to be a style in olden days that all the people would sit for food very comfortably, and the food was served with great care, and everybody was given sufficient time to eat the food. And there would be a lady to fan the gentleman who would keep the pace of the man's eating process at a proper level, and the food would be eaten with little leisure. But nowadays I find that people have no sense that we are human beings and we are not machines. In Delhi, I feel the schools are really very cruel people. I find even in this winter season, the children have to go to school at 6:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And somebody must bring some legal procedure against these schools. It's absolutely essential. Your children are going to be in great difficulties if you do not pay attention to this fact. To get up early in the morning at that time, then walk in the cold season, take your bath. Many people take their bath also with hot water, and then suddenly go out in that cold. Take your breakfast just in a standing manner, in a very rushing manner. The mother is running with a bottle in the hand and pouring the milk for the child, and the child is somehow or other trying to gulp it down and taking a bread in the hand and rushing about. This is even worse than military, I can tell you. For such small children who are growing, it is essential that they must have their breakfast when they are quite in tune with the atmosphere, not at the early in the morning at 6:30 to get up and rush them with that breakfast is something extremely cruel we are doing to our children. This will not only spoil their Vishuddhi. According to, I think, modern people, Vishuddhi trouble is to be accepted all the time. Means all cold, coughs and all that is a part of life. You can't complain about it. Somehow it has to go hand in hand with you. They do not want to find solutions for this. People might say in olden days, people used to get up at 4 o'clock. All right, they would. But they never used to get out of their houses so fast. And the style of life was very different in those days. People had very good food to eat. They had things full of vitamins. And the pressures on their lives were much less. As it is, we have no time to pay any attention to our children. On top of that, the way we hurry them up is so dangerous that I don't know, I have never known that children go so early in Delhi, which is so freezingly cold, so early, and come back home at about 2:30 in the afternoon. To come back at 2:30 in the afternoon, after eating that hurried meal at home, or whatever you may call a breakfast, or whatever you may call it, so called, and then come back at 2:30, and what are they going to eat? There is timing for everything. The food digestion takes about 3 hours and children feel hungry. As it is, there is no food, and this is how about 5.5 hours you keep them away in the schools without any food. For what? What knowledge are you giving to your children? What is the special knowledge you are giving to your children? What is such a great thing that the world has achieved by having these institutions of education, so called? First of all, you are creating children who will be very sick. It is not going to give them longevity. Secondly, the way the people rush about for their work. In the morning time, there is no need to rush about. If you can get up early in the morning, sleep early and get up in the morning, take your time and eat your breakfast properly and go to office, have something in the afternoon and then in the evening, you'll be amazed. You will get over 50% of your sickness. Because at the right time, if you give a proper practice to your stomach, you get your juices oozing out at the right time. You don't make your stomach crazy by that. But by this kind of emergency all the time arising, listening to horrible things at the time when you are eating your food or doing something important, your spleen goes crazy. It does not know. It loses its power to produce proper blood cells. It does not know how to produce. It really becomes crazy. And in that craziness, it starts producing blood cells at odd hours, wrong hours. It does not know when to produce. It is always in emergency. It is never stationed in its normal state. At this stage, if there is an attack from your collective subconscious area about which now doctors are talking in England, that there is an attack of some proteins unknown to them. They call them as protein 58 and all that. You are very much prone to get blood cancer. Moreover, if your attention is too much on the left or the right to the extreme, you are even more prone. For example, you are a planner. You plan morning till evening, so your attention is more on the future. That means your attention is on the right hand side. It's like a cloth, you can say the attention in the stomach is protruding to the right or to the left. Now, if your attention is too much on the right, means you are planning all the time. As I told you, doctors may not accept it, but is a fact that when you think too much and plan too much, your Nabhi or your Swadhisthana chakra is converting the fat cells for the use of the brain. At that time, if you put more pressure into it by overactivity of the right hand side, which is your Kriya Shakti, it happens that you may enter into it to such an extent that at that time, if you have any such problem, you are easy to get some problem with your liver, because it is on the right hand side, and the poor liver suffers. You get cirrhosis of the liver or just like cancer of the liver. Now, in Sahaja Yoga, what happens really is this. Your attention is spread like a cloth. And when the Kundalini rises, she pushes your attention upward. And the attention is a sheath around the Kundalini. When she pierces the Brahmarandra, then your attention starts oozing out into the supreme or what we call the super consciousness, which is here spread, into the sukshma, into the subtle consciousness. The whole attention is pulled up there, and that is how you cure your blood cancer, your liver cancer, and all the cancer that is connected with this kind of attention. Not only cancer, but many other diseases like kidney trouble, liver trouble, and all other, we can say, diabetes, intestinal troubles, and even you might get relief to your diaphragm sometimes, which is very much in tension with people who are agitated all the time. Those people who think they are important, I think, are really not aware of what importance they have to themselves. We must understand our own esteem, and we must know that we are human beings and that we are very important to God, if not to anybody else. As human beings, we have to also realize that we have come on this earth from amoeba stage to this stage, and God has worked so hard for us that we have no business to go on slashing ourselves into absolutely ridiculous sick people who are no good for God and no good for anyone whatsoever. Now this attention is how it is diverted from this to that. Can be seen that when people are very much right-handed or ego-oriented, as we call it, they try to take their attention away from their ego. Actually, those people who are very ego-oriented always take to some kind of intoxication because they just can't sleep in the night. Their attention so much is in the future that they cannot sleep. By sleep they might go into the left side. So they have to drink a lot. They will have more alcohols than normal people do. They'll have drugs or they'll have some sort of a thing. Ultimately, they have to take sleeping pills. Without sleeping pills, they cannot sleep. The reason is the attention in the man is so disturbed and he does not know how to give it a proper chance to lead a normal existence, that this attention is always thinking like mad, and he does not know how to stop that thing. In Sahaja Yoga, it happens automatically because your attention goes beyond thinking. You develop your thoughtless awareness without any difficulties, but you do not establish it. You have to establish your thoughtless awareness, and for that you have to work it out. And that working out takes little time. If people can really work it out properly, they can never get into these troubles. On the contrary, even if they may not be doctors or may not be physicians, they may be able to cure other people who have this problem. But in Sahaja Yoga, you must know that it's a new knowledge for you. It was a secret knowledge before this. Very much a secret. Of course, I must say Kabir Das and Guru Nanak and Adi Shankaracharya and all these people talked of Kundalini. Jnaneshwara talked of Kundalini and he said that this is this and this is that. But they did not give a full detailed idea about Sahaja, because it was useless to tell them all about it when they were not realized. But they did inform, because they knew that this time was going to come where they will be told about it. And if they had not said about this, they would have come up and said that from where are you getting this word Kundalini? It is not written anywhere. Because as I told yesterday in my lecture, that people have more faith in my photograph than in myself. Human beings are so funny that they believe into something that is printed than what is said. Just now I am saying something to you. I am standing before you. But when I am in the present, you do not want to accept me. But if I have said something and is printed, you will say yes. I have seen also people who have my tapes. They believe into my tapes than into my speeches when I am speaking to them. It's most surprising how a human mind rushes off to the past or to the future. This is a human nature which is always going out, and it is the attention which is going out because of a particular problem within human beings. Now that problem I cannot discuss because I need little drawings for that which we don't have. But I have got in some of my speeches I have explained why the attention of man goes out. Because of his prismatic nature of his brain. But that prismatic nature and the I should say the dual density of his brain creates a problem by which the attention of man goes out. Now the attention of the man has to be sucked in. If I tell you, you pay attention to me, you can. If I tell these children pay attention to me, they may for a while, but again they start playing. So if I tell them that pay attention to me, they will see me and they will start paying attention to me. But if I say pay attention to yourself, you cannot pay. You may say that all right, we are praying inside, we are doing antar yoga, this, that, is all a myth. It's not there. When the attention is inside, you are in the present. You don't think. You are in the present. When the attention is outside, then either you are on the left side or the right side, by which you are paying attention to your past or to the future. All your thoughts are coming from the past and from the future. At this present moment, there is no thought. But to stop this is very difficult. To say now, you cannot do that. There is a space in between which is called Vilamba, which is achieved through Kundalini awakening. It passes through the left and right side of ego and superego, and in the center you achieve your thoughtless awareness.